So, who was an advisor during the GFC? Has anyone seen clients from GFC? I was, and I remember the moment when my thought on the way retirees spend their capital changed. I saw a client named David, and he had this massive European gauntlet planned, and the GFC was coming, markets were crashing, and he came in and said, I'm not going to go. I'm going to save my money, I'm not going to go. He had plenty of money, by the way. That afternoon, he rode his push bike home, hit by a car and died. And he never went on his European trip. His wife went 5 years later with her daughter once she recovered. But it hit me around this point around, how do you know what someone can spend? So the Fin Review came to me about a month ago and asked me for some thoughts on retirement income. And I spoke to them for 45 minutes, and they took one line out of that 45 minutes, which was that I think retirees should spend more money in retirement. It's great for marketing. I'd always phone calls from clients saying, how do you help me spend more money in retirement? It wasn't the kind of the point of the conversation. It was more around, how do you help a client understand what is most important to them? And then also from the other side of things, if you're running a business where your majority of your clients are actually retirees, how do you actually manage that as a business? There's stats before showing how many clients are going to be going in the retirement income phase. Try growing your business when you've got clients that are taking 6, 7, 8% of their capital out every single year. When the kids are coming and asking you for money to buy a $2 million a shack in Sydney. I saw the numbers this morning. Was it $300,000 now you need to be earning as a couple to afford a home in Sydney? So mum and dad, are they the biggest source of funds right now? And we've never seen anything like it at Findex than what we have in the past 12 to 18 months of clients withdrawing money out to help out their kids. That wealth transfer that everyone talks about, it's happening right now. And, for me, as someone that runs an advice business, my thoughts are always, well, how do we make sure that we understand the client really well and that we're looking for opportunities to provide more advice to that client, which in turn protects our clients and our business. So this is the philosophy that I've had for 20 odd years on the way to interact with clients, and it goes into a lot of what Ashley showed before around those 17 factors, probably not the same scientific level that Ashley's gone into with the 17 factors, but it talks around know me, know my family, respect me, and comfort me. These are the 4 tenets of, I think, of the way you understand a client and the way you start building, what products to use. I mean, you've sat here all day today. I've only been here for half a day. It's been a heavy day, I think, anyway, from my point of view. There's so many options. Well, what do you do for a client? There's just so many options. If you don't understand your client down to, I think, a much deeper degree, it's going to be very hard to recommend the right thing for your client. So know me. What are our fears? What our retirement looks like? How are my personal values going to influence the way I behave? It's a really important one. Understanding your client's values drives all their decision making. How my life experience and how my parents brought me up. And how many clients do you see where they go, mum and dad didn't spend a nickel, right? And they inherit that behaviour, or they go the complete opposite way and spend like maniacs. I remember a few years ago, I had a gentleman, he was a butcher. And don't ask me what he butchered, but he had plenty of money, okay? Had lots and lots of money. And his kids, he had 2 kids, they had no idea about his wealth. And one of the kids was running a Jim's Mowing franchise, driving around a 20-year-old Ford. They were battlers, right? The old man passed away, they got $15 million each, okay? They were pissed off, right? Because all of a sudden their life, they've been struggling this whole period of time. The old man had given them a dime. So one kid went, you know what? I'm going to go nuts. I'm going to go and spend. He went and bought a $3 million house, went on this $300,000 train trip through Europe. Yes, $300,000 train trip through Europe. Went bananas. The other son, he's kind of going, no, I've got the same value as a dad. So it's 10 years on, all right? One's happier. He's much poorer, by the way. And one's probably not as happy, but he's got more money. Those really interesting dynamics, those 2 clients. A real life example of this, how your behaviour affects your lifetime. And how is my lifestyle going to impact my life? The point before, go and read the AFSA survey. I think it talks about $35 a fortnight to spend on eating out. That's not even a Palmer in Sydney anymore, is it? So know my family. I think this is a big one, I think. So I'd say up, down and sideways. Everyone's probably heard the term sandwich generation. You've got 35% of females now between the ages of 40 and 55 that are caring for the kids and they're caring for their parents. Right? So it affects their ability to work. The stress it puts on them, it's huge. So understanding as an advisor what's impacting me on a daily basis. Are my parents relying on me? Do they need money for a RAD or a DAP? Are my kids still living at home? Do they want to buy their first house? What's going on with them? Help me to help them, but don't let it impact my lifestyle. This is the number one thing that clients say to me is, do you want to help them? Yeah, I do, but not at the detriment of my own personal lifestyle. Right? So it's that balancing up between those two things. And I've done so much for my kids, help me protect them from their stupidity, okay, or misfortune. Okay, so kids are kids, probably all kids in the room. Kids make mistakes, right? Kids have accidents, so a 30-year-old son, quite recently, had a TPD event, not going to work the rest of his life, all right? Dad's basically his insurance policy, okay? And Dad's happy to do it, but there was probably a cheaper way to do that for Dad, and that was to pay for some insurance for his son. It would be a much easier way to do it. Respect me. I think this is the number one reason why people don't come and see a planner, because they're afraid of being judged. And the subconscious reality of being a planner is you get this fact find, data forming, everyone wants to fill it out before the client comes in the door. You read this fact find and you form in your mind this opinion of what that client's done with their life. Before they've even walked in the door, all right? So this bloke's earning $300,000 a year. He's only saved up $500,000. What's he been doing with his money? He's been blowing it. You have no idea what's happened with that client in the past 20 years, but you can't help it. Human beings are, we're built to judge people whether we want to or not. Don't embarrass me or praise me on how much money I have. You don't know the client. They might be embarrassed by their wealth. Okay? They might want you to tell them how good they are, but you don't know that on the first instance. We've done our best to raise our children, so don't judge me on the decisions that I make. This one's a really important one, I think. There are some parents that I see that have cut their kids off. Okay? They've gone, nah, I've given you enough. I'm not doing any more. I saw a client actually on Monday this week, and he gave his son and daughter $250,000 to put against their mortgage, right, to get in their offset. And a month later, his son comes to him and says, I'm going to Europe, Dad, with the kids. I'm taking his 12-year-old and 10-year-old to Europe. Spent $125,000 in 4 weeks in Europe. Right? They did all the things you wanted to do. Went to the top of the Eiffel Tower, did the dinner on the Eiffel Tower, the whole works, all right? Dad's not happy. And guess what? They ain't giving any more money. Dad can, but Dad's not going to now, because all of a sudden the money you gave for the mortgage, they've gone and blown half of it on a European holiday that Dad would never have done in his lifetime. And our whole life's been this certain way. Like, you go to work, you get a paycheck, you come home, you spend your weekends doing whatever you do. The old saying, I married you for lunch, for life, not lunch, so bugger off. This whole thing changes for a client in retirement, and you're at that point in their life, you're actually helping them to make those decisions. And I often say the role of a planner, I think, in a client's life is they're outsourcing risk to us. They want someone else to validate their decisions. And if stuff goes wrong, to Ash's point before, they come and blame you. Right? They want to have someone else that's helping make a decision. The last one's comfort me. I always say to younger advisors when they're kind of learning, the client should walk out of your office with one or two feelings. Either they're very comfortable and very happy, or they're shit scared. They're the two things they should be able to get when they walk out of the office, because you want them to go away either knowing they're going to be okay, or go away knowing they're not going to be okay, but you can help them get to a point where they're going to be as well as you possibly can. You can't help everybody, but you can get everyone to a point where they can be satisfied. What can go wrong? Tell me what can go wrong in the entire cycle, and how can you help us overcome it? Don't tell me how smart you are. Planners have a nasty habit of telling people, I'm a CFP, I've done all this stuff and I've been doing it for 35 years and I'm great. Clients don't care. Could not care less. And we know you're not your only client, but don't forget about it. So every advisor's got 100 clients, 200 clients, 50 clients, whatever it might be. But in that client's mind, you're their only client. You're sitting there and they're thinking. There's also a bit of an analogy that I think advisors do overestimate their importance in a client's life. So Christmas time is always a classic one for me. We see advisors, everyone scrambles to get advice documents and stuff out to clients before Christmas. I said to someone last year, I said, do you really think they're sitting around Christmas table talking about you? Because they ain't. You're not that important to them. You're important, but you're not at Christmas table important. So, why does it matter for a planner's business? This top one here, the questioning of fees, values relative to fees, but I can't remember a time in my working life of 20 odd years where there's been a greater focus from everybody on the cost of getting advice. The government's out there saying it's too expensive, needs to come down, yet they're doing everything they possibly can to make it more expensive, by the way. Our clients are getting older. That's a pretty good comment that was, sorry. I'm not growing my business. I can't keep staff. Succession in financial planning is really hard right now. You need to be growing. Growing your client base means you can bring younger advisors through. You can't do it if you're not growing your business. So I talk about what I call surface discovery and then deep discovery. So surface discovery is what most advisors do. They get a client, they get a fact find, they go through, yep, I'm 58 years of age, retirement's next, parents are in their 80s, I love my home, I don't know what my goal objectives are. Has anyone ever said to a client, tell me your goals, and they've given you an answer straight away? It doesn't happen. Your clients have no idea what their goals and objectives are. It just doesn't happen that way. I think I'm going okay. Some of my favourite things when I say to a client is if they're managing their own portfolio, I said, how's your portfolio going? Okay, thanks. Have you measured it? No. Do you want to? Not really, because then you got to tell me that I'm not doing well. We did a project at a previous workplace where we actually had 1,000 clients over about 3 years where we benchmarked their portfolios are managing themselves versus just the index. 91% of them underperformed the index over that period of time. So they're going well, thanks. Is something you hear a lot from clients. Versus what I call discovering your client, which is really going a bit deeper and starting to look around, what does mum and dad's will say? Do we want the same thing in time as my wife or my husband? Kids are about to buy their first house, can we help? And my brother, he's a deadbeat, and mum and dad are going to help him out more than they're going to help me out. How do I understand that? I don't even know if I have enough. I'm not even sure I want to retire. To Ashley's point before, I cannot tell you how many clients have retired and they ring you out 4 months later, hey, I'm doing something else. Particularly blokes. Blokes just seem to hate sitting at home. Not all of them, by the way, but most of them seem to hate sitting at home. I wonder if my kids have insurance. Why are we staying in this house? This house has got 5 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. We don't need 5 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. I'm not convinced I trust my daughter's hubby. Huge one. Cannot tell you how many clients don't like their in-laws. It's quite remarkable. It really is. They don't trust them. I understand why. I've got 2 girls. I'll never trust their partners, I'm sure. It does, 100%. But I can't put up on that slide. I don't trust my husband's wife, can I? I'll get myself in trouble, wouldn't I? And do they want to understand us? They want to understand what drives us and what values us. Ash mentioned before around our longevity. There's something I always talk about with clients is something called SHAPE. I'm sure you've heard of it before. Surroundings, health, attitude, parents, and eating. Those 5 factors go a long way to being able to determine a client's longevity. There's actually a good calculator online. You can go and find it, mylongevity.com.au. I have no affiliation with them at all, but it's on there. It's a good easy little survey that'll give you an idea of what a client's life is going to be based upon those factors. Parents is a huge one. So what does it do for your business? Our clients there in the red box, all of a sudden we've opened up an entire new world of clients that you can help out as a business owner, but also you're reducing the risk you have for your client. You're understanding that what their kids' risks are, what their parents' opportunity is. You're talking to their parents, if you can, about testamentary trust for your kids, for your client. You don't inherit this money from the kid. We always talk about the client's will. We never talk about our client's parents' will. There's all this risk in here that if you're going to that deep discovery piece, I think you can really open up a lot of opportunities for your client. You can give them a much better experience on how the retirement looks like. It might mean spending more money in retirement. One of the things that is always difficult to look at is most clients I've dealt with in my lifetime have spent more money in the first 10 years of retirement than they have in the rest of their life. All right, so how do you get to the crux of that with a client, and how do you make them feel comfortable enough that they can go and do that stuff? Yes, you might live till 110. I'm not sure I want to live till 110, by the way, but you might get there. But between 65 and 75 or 80, they're the years when you want to do stuff. You want to be active. You want to be able to travel. You want to do those things. It costs money, so you might spend a lot more in those first 10 years than the remaining 10 years. And this was something my very first boss told me, Ian Herod, who was a planner in the 80s and 90s and the 2000s. Tell them what you told them, tell them again what you told them, and tell them again the way out what you told them in the first place. It talks to that value proposition and just making sure that you as an advisor, or if you're talking to advisors, their value prop and the ability to demonstrate what they're doing for a client, you cannot underestimate the value that it has to the client, and it will have to your business over time. That's all I wanted to go through today.